Welcome to Golden Speakers Toastmasters Club in Fairfield, Iowa, the #1 club in Iowa. This is the fall speech contest. We're going to be doing an evaluation contest, and then we'll move right into a humorous contest. These contests will go to 4 levels of competition. The ultimate winner will take state. So it's a serious competition. We have 90-odd other clubs in this competition. Toastmasters takes this very seriously, but it's actually a lot of fun. A lot of fun. The mission of the Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which each individual member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Yay! I'd like to go ahead and welcome not just our fellow Toastmasters, our viewers at home, but we have some dignitaries. We have the high-ranking. Let me get this straight here. District 19 Public Relations Officer, Mrs. Don Wadley in Old French. Thank you, Don. And Don is also Assistant Governor to a gentleman who is stationed at a, how best to say that?
He is an inmate.
An inmate, yes, in one of the prisons, and who is extremely a devoted Toastmaster and very well for himself and his high aspirations. With his help, he has the possibility for him to become a distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest level of Toastmasters afforded. So thank you for taking that on. That's much longer work there. We have some guests this evening. I'd like to take a second to welcome Alpita, who's our latest and greatest. Yay! And Mrs. Butler. And Tamara. Tamara, yes. Okay. The first contest in the evaluation contest is the evaluation contest. Earlier, the contestants drew lots to determine their speaking order. The judges, this will be the order for your ballot. The first presenter will be Jesus Rios. Jesus Rios, H-E-S-U-S, R-I-O-S. Second place, second contender, I should say. Tom Trainer. Tom Trainer, T-R-A-Y-N-O-R. Yay! Okay, let's hear it for Jesus. I'll repeat their names. Jesus Rios for the first contestant, Tom Trainer for the second. For a review of the rules of the evaluation contest, please welcome our Chief Judge, Art Atkinson.
Good evening, Toastmasters, guests, and viewers. My name is Art Atkinson. As Chief Judge of this contest, I confirm that we have equal judging representation for all of the genders and opinions involved in this contest. In further contests, we would assert the equal representation for the different clubs, areas, or districts or divisions. The judges, timers, and ballot counters have been briefed and are fully aware of their responsibilities. Do I have a yes on that from the timers?
Yes.
And ballot counter?
Yes.
Thank you, John. In addition, the contestants and the Sergeant-at-Arms have met for a briefing regarding the rules and procedures of the contest. Is there any contestant that's unclear about the procedure? So I now ask the Chief Timer to please review the timing procedure for this contest with the contestants and all of us, and have a final check of the timing line.
There shall be at least 2 timers, one of whom shall be provided with a stopwatch by the Chief Judge. They shall keep the official record of the time of each contestant's presentation. The timer shall provide green, amber, and red warning signals which shall be clearly visible to the speakers, but not obvious to the audience. Any sightless contestant may request and must be granted a form of warning signal of his or her own choosing, which may be an audible device. The contestant must provide any special device required for such signal. Any contestant is disqualified whose presentation time is less than the minimum time or more than the maximum time indicated below. No signal shall be given to indicate that a presentation has gone into overtime. In the event of technical failure of the signals, a contestant is allowed 30 seconds extra overtime before being disqualified. Timing will begin with a contestant's first definite verbal or non-verbal communication with the audience. This will usually be the first word uttered by the contestant, but would include any other communication such as sound effects, a staged act by another person, etc. Following are the timing rules for each contest. No more than one signal color may be displayed at any time. Evaluation speech contest. Evaluation length is 2 to 3 minutes. A contestant will be disqualified for speaking less than 1 minute, 30 seconds, or more than 3 minutes, 30 seconds. The green signal will be displayed at 2 minutes. The amber signal will be displayed at 6 minutes. Oops, I'm missing, excuse me. The amber signal will be displayed at 2 minutes, 30 seconds. The red signal will be displayed at 3 minutes and remain displayed until the evaluation ends.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back up.
As Chief Judge, I remind all in this room that if it is necessary to leave, please do so only during the 1 minute quiet judging periods between contestants. The Sergeant at Arms will allow re-entry during a subsequent 1 minute period. Additionally, there is to be silence during those 1 minute periods. Please don't disturb the judges while they're deliberating and marking on their ballots. If any of you has anything like this, any piece of electronic equipment or thing that makes noise or beeping, please silence it now. We want no disturbances during the contest. No pictures may be taken during the contest. There will be an opportunity to take pictures during an interview session immediately following. Protests regarding eligibility or originality may be made by contestants or judges and would be made to me or to Ron Kerr, the contest chair, prior to any announcement of winners, should there be such a case. I declare that we'll have none. So for the evaluation contest, I'll turn it back over to our contest chair, Ron, to explain the procedure.
Test. The evaluation contest is, when we give talks in Toastmasters, the way that we get better is we get viable feedback. It helps us show up what points we might be a little weak on, point out points that we're really strong, but the overall intent is to help us improve. If we don't get feedback, we just bumble on, thinking it can't get any better. It can. So this contest is going to, what we'll have is our test speech presenter. Good. Yeah. And she'll give that talk, and then the evaluators will listen to that, then they'll be escorted out. So we'd like to invite up. Any questions about anything so far? Okay, let's begin the contest. And I'd like to invite up Diane Denbaum, and her talk is Play, Diane Denbaum.
Yay!
Good evening, Toastmasters, honored guests who've come from far away, Burlington at least I know, Aprita, viewers at home. My talk tonight, 3 reasons why adults should play. I'm going to also challenge you to something, and I'm going to talk about types of play. I'd like to begin by having you check in on 3 things. Just making a little mental note. How are you feeling right now, mentally? How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling socially? Connected, disconnected, like that? I'm not going to start speaking yet, because guess what? We are going to play. Sorry, viewers at home, you have to watch. When I count to 3, I'm going to toss this ball out into the group. I'd like you to stand when I say 3. And the idea is, let's keep this in a volley. If it drops, we'll pick it up and volley again. I'm going to time for about a minute. I won't be involved in the game. I'll keep track of the time. I'll say time, you'll come and sit down. So, 1, 2, 3, let's go, play, volley it. It goes in. Okay, 1, down. Marilyn, start it again. Ready? We'll see if we can beat our record. 1, sort of volley. 2, 3, that's it. Okay, let's start again. Ready? Rhonda, 1, 2. Okay, start again. 1, 2, 3, 4. John Laura, start it up. 1. So, 1. Start it again. 1, 2.
Get it, Merle.
Go. Yeah, you can run for it. Ready? You got about 5, 6 more seconds. Go. Ready? Make sure everybody gets it. Run forward if you need to. 2. 3. Go ahead. 1. Dear Will, send it in. 1, 2. Okay, time. Time. Three. You managed, I think, 3 or 4 rallies. Now I'd like to check in and have you share. How are you feeling mentally? Anyone?
Energized.
Energized, thank you. One more. Mentally.
Alert.
Alert, thank you, Aprita. How are you feeling physically?
Full of breath.
Full of breath. One more. Breath?
Breathless.
Breathless. Good, he says with a smile on his face. Socially. Socially. You want to play again? I love this man, Mango. There you go. There you go. Anybody else socially feel a little
Engaged.
different? Engaged.
Connected.
Thank you. Fantastic. This is the message of my speech tonight. Adults, remember to play. No play, no joy, no creativity, no magic or connection in your life. A suggestion, in the years I worked around children, they just have a mindset of play. They turn everything into play. Maybe that's something that adults, especially today, could adapt into their lifestyle. The economy, things in the world going on. But a lot of psychologists and health officials are noticing such a lack of joy and play in today's world. I want to go back to the 3 reasons. Mentally, you're right. It is energizing, it brings clarity, but it also, research shows, can slow the path if you are bound towards dementia. It can actually lower the risk of that. It also, play gives your stressors a break and then allows the body to restore itself. Physically, someone said, yes, energize. It will stimulate the endorphins. Play will also, excuse me one second here. Play will also, oh, there's this great thing, excuse me. I got so wrapped up in playing. It will stop the hormones, the sugars, and the fat from going into your bloodstream because of stress. It also will help you sleep better if you have a little play in your life. I said that I would pose a challenge. My challenge is this. I don't know if you have no play, you might have a little play and want more play. Whatever it is, I challenge you in the next week or two to add something new to your life that brings in some play, or take something that you've been making serious and put a playful spin on it. If you need an accountability buddy, you can email me, DianeDenbaum@Yahoo, and tell me that you did that. If you see me at Toastmasters this week or next, you can tell me. Types of activities, it's pretty obvious. There is the group and solo. A couple of examples of a group activity would be what? Art, got one?
Volleyball.
Volleyball. Anybody else? Toastmasters.
Dancing.
Dancing.
Water aerobics.
Water aerobics. There you go.
Scrabble.
Scrabble. Racquetball. Good. And then solo activities.
Running.
Running. Good.
Solitaire.
Solitaire.
Tai
Good.
Chi.
Tai Chi. Good.
Playing the accordion.
Yes.
That's for health protection.
Golf.
Golf can be either. There's a few that can be either. Give yourself a boost, adults. Add more play to your life. I gave you the 3 reasons why. I offered you a little challenge, and now you know the types. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and playmates.
Thank you, Diane. We appreciate that. Now, would Sergeant Von Loris please escort the contestants in the room?
The evaluators.
Yes.
Now, we have a few moments while they get organized and sit down. They're going to do their evaluations now, and then they'll come up one at a time and actually make their presentations to Diane. What we're going to do for now, though, is have Diane come on up.
Okay. I'll take that playful attitude. Thank you.
And we'll interview you.
All right.
Now, Diane, you and I go back in Toastmasters a while. When you first came back, you were a school teacher who spoke to groups all the time, but thought maybe it's time to see if I could, how did you say? Do it better, or?
Well, I was used to just speaking. When I would look at a group, they were this high and looked up at me like I was a goddess. And then I then I thought it's time to start speaking to adults because of my certain purpose, new purpose in life. And so I came to Toastmasters.
And your new purpose is?
My new purpose now is I'm a trained and certified life coach. I'm also a certified relationship coach. I teach a course called Conscious Dating. I help women and men, along with my husband Lewis, with the range of what being in relationship with another human being brings. So I'm a supporter, I'm a cheerleader, and I guess I would say that action. You know, I just help people get into action. As you can see tonight when I was giving the speech, I'll give you a challenge. And then I asked you to be accountable. This way when you see me in town, you'll either duck or you'll say, I'm playing, or and that's kind of how it works, joking.
Good. Yeah, either ducking or saying hi. It's a good town for that. What would you say that, are you pleased with how Toastmasters, your participation has helped you unfold?
Completely. I always like to think of my first icebreaker. I was actually talking to John about this. I taught 23 years. My icebreaker, I was like this. with the notes reading, and my knees were like shaking. I mean, I got up, I met the assignment, but I was very, very nervous. And now I can come up and play and throw beach balls around and give a speech, and I've become a lot more confident. I can come out in front of the lectern. And I'm learning to take my thoughts that I get very excited about and make them more succinct. That's been a huge gift of coming to Toastmasters for me.
What's your cutting edge right now? Where are you now?
My cutting edge as in, what am I trying to...
Coaching, your professional unfoldment?
Yeah, well, I'm invited to public speak now. So I've been to the Ruby's conference in Kirkwood Community College, Chamber of Commerce, the Rotaries. So that's pretty cutting edge right now for me.
Great.
Because I have a lot to say and a lot to give, but you have to know how to say it so that people, they know.
Thank you.
Thank
Dan.
you.
There's an interesting line here. Timers, please put 5 minutes on the clock after they leave.
Okay.
Yeah, I started timing.
Did you?
I got 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. Okay, that's great. Well, why don't we invite our guests? Is there any reflections, anything you'd like to share with us about what you know about or would like to know more about?
About the particular speech or just about life in general?
Whatever, life with Toastmasters. Whatever.
Whatever's on your mind.
Go ahead.
Is it warm enough back there? Is it cool enough back there?
I made a sound. Thus begins the formal speech. My mind goes blank. Arrgh.
I think you caught it. Rita, anything you have to say with us? Okay.
Maybe later.
Later on, we'll have a chance to.
Maybe, yeah.
After our next competition.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. Diane, I'll have to say that was an excellent speech, really interactive. I like how you came into the front. Take a deep breath. And what that did, it created anticipation. That was an attention grabber just by the fact of standing up here and not saying nothing, just getting your thoughts together perhaps. You got everybody looking really close to what you were gonna say or do. I like how you interacted. You did a game with the ball. You asked some questions. You tell us good things why playing is good for your health, the benefits on your hormones, and the sugar in your blood. I think that was really excellent. I like how you presented those questions. You first ask the question and then ask the questions again after the game, after the interaction with the group. You ask, how are you physically now? And you got answers, you got replies from different sides of the room. How do you feel physically? Obviously, with the interaction that you presented, it changed the mood. Now, if they were feeling down, now they were hyper. We all were. The energy level went up. I really like that. That was excellent. The way you used the stage, you addressed the audience of this side, you walk around and took some time to do the same thing, interaction. Even with the ball wasn't going to that side of the room, and you made sure that the ball went that way, said, hey, the ball needs to go that way, here you go, catch it. So even the guy right in the corner, he got to be a part of your speech, physically and emotionally. What I saw, the only suggestion that I can give you, Diane, is that at the beginning of your speech, you make the question, and it was somewhat an indirect question because you didn't allow nobody to answer. I would have liked to see their answers at the beginning and then at the end, so I can have something to compare. That would be my only suggestion. Other than that, I think that was an excellent speech. We enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
You're welcome.
And now our second contestant will be here in just a moment. Our second contestant, Tom Trainer.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, viewers at home, but most especially Diane, right here in front of me. Where can I go? If you didn't know this before you got here, our guest realized something. This is a very accomplished Toastmaster. She's been practicing for years. So I'm going to hold her to a higher standard than your average bear, because she's been around a long time. She's good. What I think I really liked, great opening, great use of space. You used the stage. You had your 3 items, and you defined them, and you had us all check in. And then you did something that's really risky. You had an interactive presentation. Luckily, she gave us only a minute, because these things tend to get out of hand sometimes. I know you get interactive and pretty soon, whoosh, there goes all your time, but you did well. Then you had us check in again. So you were building a case for your presentation, and what I really liked was she used the show and tell of a great teacher. First she told us, then she showed us, and then she told us, and then she showed us. She did this a couple of times. Great structure. How could she improve? We can always improve. Number 1, simple, but from a professional standpoint, your props are either going up with you or they're up here. You don't go chasing your props. It looks like you're not ready. You were ready. You had your props, but they were there. Right now they're here. Better have them there, take them up with you. Second thing, for a more powerful close, I would have taken your 3 things and brought them up again as part of your close with one more check-in. Bring it all back. Close with your points. You started, you had your points at the beginning, you had your points in the middle, but you didn't bring it all back in with the same 3 points as part of your close. I love your point about avoiding dementia. For those of us who happen to have a little gray hair, and I can look around, some of us don't have any hair, but some of us are heading in that direction. Good thing to work on at this age. Last thing, a good salesperson knows you always ask for the order. What you didn't ask, who is willing to do this? Who is willing? Put your hand up. What you're asking for is commitment. If you want change, you have to ask for change. And you've got to get buy-in. Once they put their hand up in front of their peers, they're really, really hesitant to disappoint their peers and themselves. So it's a way to close. Last thing, who's willing to do this? Ask for the order, take the order, get the order. Mr. Contest Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Timer, could we have 1 minute, please? Now, we have a few moments, so we're going to invite our, excuse me, we're going to invite our contestants up and have a little interview. So why don't we start with Jesus?
How you doing?
Very well. Jesus, why don't you share with everyone, especially guests and viewers at home, how you heard about Toastmasters and got into it?
By you?
Okay, next question.
Well, I can elaborate a little about it.
Please.
I had something that I believe there was a diamond. And who better to get that checked than with a professional? So I walked into his store, and I was really struck by his personality, the way he treated me. He gave me his full attention. He took time to explain to me how you can tell a diamond, and he showed me a real diamond so I can compare it. We look at the diamond under the microscope. And I was really pleased and impressed, to say the least, on the way he treated me on the first time we met. And I knew right then that this man got something that I want. And I let him know that I really appreciate of his time to explain to me. And then one thing led to another, and he mentioned to me that he belongs to a Toastmasters club. And he provided some magazines. He said, take this and see if this is something that you would like to do. And one of the first things that I opened, in the first magazine that I opened, one of the things that I saw that really caught my attention, it was big bold letters says that become a motivational speaker. My husband pointing. I said, I like that. Because that's something that I always have in the back of my mind and deep in my heart. I would like to be able to speak properly so I can speak to groups and motivate them and reach their lives, because there's a lot of poverty in the world, and I believe that it's not because of poverty economically, but it's because of the poverty mentally, lack of knowledge. And that is the desire of my heart, to share the knowledge that I have acquired through my life. And I thank Toastmasters because in a big way it has helped me to be here standing in front of a group, feeling comfortable talking about pretty much anything. And this is something that I have gained to Toastmasters, and I am pleased to belong to the Toastmasters.
Very good, thank you. Tom Trainer, will you join us? Tom Trainer, no stranger to the stage. Would you share some thoughts with us?
Thoughts! We have lots of thoughts every day. Like popcorn. They just keep coming up. But I'll talk about Toastmasters. Joined back in 1996, under pressure. I had been a speaker, I had been on a phone, I had talked to people for 27 years. I was very good at it. But you get me in front of more than 3 people and I was a blithering idiot. In the first 3 months I was in, I did everything possible not to answer table topics. Even today, I am a very, very nervous person. When I go home tonight, if you look really careful, this shirt is wet all the way down. And if the speech is longer than 3 minutes, it's twice as long. And if I give a half-an-hour seminar, I'm soaking wet. I've changed my underwear. But, as the founder of Toastmasters said, we won't get rid of your butterflies. We can't do that. But we can get your butterflies to fly in formation. We can get you to be comfortable no matter what. I just recently buried my 101 2/3 years old mother. And they asked me to read a poem. But in order to read the poem, I had to give the backstory. So I went around and asked my nephew and his daughter how this came to be. And they gave me the backstory. They didn't know I was going to tell the backstory. They just wanted me to read the poem. No. Without the backstory, the poem didn't mean anything. I gave the backstory. I read the poem. I was nervous. I was soaking wet. But nobody knew. That's the beauty. Mr. Cunters, sir.
Tom has accomplished Distinguished Toastmaster twice.
And a half.
2.5. He's working on the third one. Good job, Tom.
Yay!
Now we're going to take just about a 4-minute break, and then we'll just come right on back in and get on with the second part of our contest.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Ha!
We're now ready for the humorous speech contest.
Ha! Ha!
For this contest, all the contestants may remain in the room. Our first contestant, this was determined earlier by a drawing of numbers. Our first contestant will be Raul Vaz. Our second contestant will be Jesus Rios. And the third will be Vera Elizabeth. Now for a review of the rules of the humorous speech contest.
Spelling.
Spelling.
He's new.
Oh yes, that's right too, I'm sorry. For the judges, Rahul Vats, R-A-H-U-L-V-A-T-S. Vats.
Lots and lots.
Jesus Rio, H-E-S-U-S-H-U-S-E-S.
J.
Oh, I'm sorry.
J.
That's right, because the J has the H sound.
Jesus.
Hey!
I know just enough Spanish to mix it up.
Ay, ay, ay.
And it's Rios, R-I-O-S. And then Vera, B-E-R-A. Elizabeth, spell it for us. Okay, Vera Elizabeth. All right, now I'd like to, for a review of the rules of the humorous speech contest, our Chief Judge, Art Atkinson.
Thank you, Ron. Now for something pretty familiar. As Chief Judge of this contest, I confirm that we have equal judging representation for all of the interest groups involved. The judges, timers, and ballot counters have been fully briefed and are aware of their responsibilities. In addition, the contestants and Sergeant-at-Arms have met for a briefing regarding the rules and procedures of this contest. I ask the Chief Timer now to please review the timing procedure for everyone in this contest and have a final check of the lights.
There shall be at least 2 timers, one of whom shall be provided with a stopwatch by the Chief Judge. They shall keep the official record of the time of each contestant's presentation. The timer shall provide green, amber, and red warning signals, which shall be clearly visible to the speakers, but not obvious to the audience. Any sightless contestant may request and must be granted a form of warning signal of his or her own choosing, which may be an audible device. The contestant must provide any special device required for such signal. Any contestant is disqualified whose presentation time is less than the minimum time, or more than the maximum time indicated below. No signal shall be given to indicate that a presentation has gone into overtime. In the event of technical failure of the signals, a contestant is allowed 30 seconds extra overtime before being disqualified. Humorous speech contest, speech length is 5 to 7 minutes. A contestant will be disqualified for speaking less than 4 minutes, 40 seconds, or more than 7 minutes, 30 seconds. The green signal will be displayed at 5 minutes. The amber signal will be displayed at 6 minutes. The red signal will be displayed at 7 minutes and remain displayed until the speech ends.
Thank you. As Chief Judge, as Chief Judge, I remind everyone in the room, if it's necessary to leave, please do so only during the 1-minute judging periods. The Sergeant-at-Arms will allow re-entry during a subsequent 1-minute period. Additionally, there is to be silence during that 1 minute. Please don't disturb the judges while they deliberate and mark their ballots. If anyone has turned on his cell phone or other noisemaker device, please silence it now. There should be no disturbance during the contest. no taking of pictures. Pictures may be taken during the interview opportunity following the contest. Protests would be lodged with me or with Ron and are limited to contestants and judges prior to the announcement of the winners. With no special arrangements for this contest, all contestants may stay in the room. Any questions? Great. Mr. Contest Chair, we are in order. Let the contest begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Judge. Any questions? We're good to go. Okay, let the contest begin. Our first contestant is Rahul Vats. Tips for everlasting wedding. Rahul Vats, tip for everlasting wedding.
There was this guy who loved a girl very deeply, very much. He loved her so much that he went up to her, tell her that I would go through hell for you if needed. They decided to marry. Ever since, he has been going through hell. But marriage and hell, do they sound like synonyms? There might be people here who might be feeling it that way because they have been married for a long time. Are there people who would say this? Well, I do look at faces which are dying to say yes, but just couldn't say because their spouses are here too. Well, I'm not going deep into that. For me, marriage and love are not at all synonymous. Good evening, friends. My name is Rahul Vats. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. What I'm going to share with you today are tips for everlasting wedding, tips for everlasting marriages. And believe me, I have a lot of ancestral wisdom behind me to be able to share this with you. Though I'm very young, just recently got married, but Indians, they have really been good at weddings. And with all that ancestral knowledge that I have, I can assure you I'm better than any of you to talk about weddings. So the thing with weddings, things with marriages, is very simple. Treat a marriage just like a business. Just like a business. Believe me, if you're a good businessman, you ought to be very successful at your wedding. It's very, very simple. I'll explain to you very shortly. But before I do that, I'll also inform you that I'm married. So that's an additional qualification that I have to be able to speak on this topic. People are not taking me seriously, but that's okay. Now I'll tell you what I mean with having that businessman-like attitude with a wedding. My wedding, we had 4,000 people. 4,000 people. See, it was a grand business. Believe me, it's not for me, for my parents. Because they paid for everything of it. Arpita's family, my wife, she is a crazy girl and was getting very crazy at the time of wedding. Excuse me, at the time of the wedding, because of the 4,000 people that were there, dying to have a look at her. But the wedding, if not treated like a business, is ought to fail. Now, you would ask me why. I'll go into my example first and then I'll tell you what my tips are for you. We had 4,000 people, some of them we never met in my entire life. I had no clue as to who every counting, maybe I would have only known 300 people out of the 4,000. So you can do some math, some calculation and understand that I knew nobody at the wedding. But in that wedding, when there were 4,000 people, and her parents paid for everything, it was a huge business. Now, our parents are constantly reminding us why to have our wedding be an everlasting wedding. So believe me, with all that ancestral knowledge that I have behind me, I can any day help you in having an everlasting wedding. Here are my 3 tips for you to have a successful marriage life. First, make your wedding, Mangal, you're not married yet? You're not. Make your wedding, at your wedding, make it a real grand affair. Invite every person that you might just have met in your life. No, it doesn't matter if he or she is your friend or not. Just invite them. Ask your friends to invite 20 other people from their contacts to your wedding. Make sure that you do everything that at your wedding there are a lot of people. Believe me, it helps. If you think that's difficult for you, do it for others. Do it for me, do it for anybody else who you think is going to get married. Because when you do it for others, like at my wedding, there were people who brought 20 other friends whom I don't know, whom my parents didn't know, at the wedding. My mother said to me the next day, well, they brought these many people, we'll take our entire family there. So believe me, if you invite people whom you don't know, could be tricky for you, take other friends to other people's wedding. They will, as a measure of revenge, do the same for you. If it's not a revenge, believe me, it will turn to be a blessing. Second, make sure that you're paying for everybody. Make sure you're paying for everybody.
Cash or credit?
Yeah. Cash or credit doesn't matter. Just make sure you're paying for everybody. Because when you invest, here's another good one. Every Indian knows how to get every single penny worth of investment out of what they're doing. Since my her father, mother invested so much money into the wedding, they are forcing us to recover every single penny that they spent. So if you remember that point, you would remember that you have to recover all that money back, right? Remember that. Third thing, just like any other business person, one of the good qualities is to be able to get other people to work for you. Make sure that you get all your relatives to work for you at your wedding. If nothing, even if they are slackers, they are not good workers, they will keep on reminding you that they work so much for you at your wedding and will help you in keeping your marriage everlasting. These were my tips for you. Believe me, friends, all jokes apart, marriages are based on love, trust, and mutual respect for each other. Take me seriously or not, just remember, marriages are the best thing to happen to you in your lifetime. Do go for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Now can we have 1 minute of silence, please, for the judges? Now for our second contestant, Jesus Rios, my funny childhood, Jesus Rios.
First of all, I'd like to point out. Second of all, I'd like to say this to all of you. This. And for the hard of hearing, I'd like to repeat that. That. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Viewers at home, honorable judges. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my childhood in a funny way, if at all possible. But before I get into that, I'd like to put something in clear for everybody that we all have different sense of humor. What might be funny for you, it might not be funny for her. Let me demonstrate that. For that, I'm gonna ask you to do something really quick, please. I need a dollar bill, please. Let me borrow a dollar bill, and I will demonstrate the difference of people, the difference in people's humor. Thank you, sir. I will read the serial number. L142055330F. Now you remember that. I will do my impression of Iowa lottery. How many of you here play Iowa lottery? Let me rephrase the question. How many of you are willing to admit that you play Iowa lottery? I will do my impression of Iowa lottery. Woohoo! That's it. That's just it. I am a magician. And people ask me sometimes, how did you become a magician? And the answer is because it runs in my blood. My father used to be a magician. He disappeared the minute I was born. One time I asked my mom, I said, Mom, what happened to that? He said, I don't know. Last time I saw him, he was walking down the street and he turned into a bar. From there on, I was raised by my grandfather. Up until the age of school years. And then he abandoned me. He went to Canada because he saw a sign that read, Drink Canada Dry. From there on, I was raised by my grandmother. She loved me. She cooked dinner for me sometimes. I remember she put me in school. When the day she took me to school, they said, okay, Jesus, because that's my name, we're going to do an eye exam. I remember I was terrified. I didn't know when to go to school. And the teacher, she told me, okay, Jesus, cover one eye. So there I was, covering one eye. He said, what is this letter? I said, what letter, teacher? The one here on this bulletin. I said, what bulletin, teacher? This bulletin here on the blackboard. I said, what blackboard? The blackboard here in the wall. I said, what wall? He said, Jesus, he said, let's do it this way. So she took me to another classroom and she got into the blackboard and she started writing down, I ain't had fun this summer. She turns to me and said, Jesus, now, what do I need to do to correct that? I said, teacher, that's really easy. Just get a boyfriend. She said, oh, Jesus, you're really bad. You're really bad. Take this paper, and I want you to write down 1,000 times, I'm a bad boy, I'm a bad boy. So there I was, sitting down, writing, I'm a bad boy, I'm a bad boy, I'm a bad boy. And then when I finished, just to get even, I turned the sheet to the other side, and I started writing down, no, I ain't, no, I ain't, no, I ain't. It was hard school. It was really hard for me. And besides that, we were really poor, extremely poor. I remember one time I asked my mom, I said, Mom, can I lick the bowl? She said, no, flush it. But even though we were really poor, we always had plenty to eat. And I know that because every time I passed my plate for seconds, my grandma would say, no, you already had enough. You already have plenty. That was her word. But nevertheless, I went to school and got somewhat an education. And I really inclined to do something different. And magic was something different for me. I was always accused for being the clown of the class. Ironically, now they pay me for it. I don't want you to feel disappointed about your money. This, I'm gonna back up so everybody can see. Watch really close. And don't blink. If you feel like blinking, you can go ahead and pre-blink now. No bill, never leave your side, and my hand never leave my wrist. Will you please read the serial number out loud, please?
L14205530F.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
There you have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jesus. Now we'll have a moment of silence for the judges, please.
Goodness.
Now for our next contestant, Vera Elizabeth, trick or treat. Trick or treat, Vera Elizabeth.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. So my props are the yardstick, and this is a clothesline. So this starts off Halloween 40 years ago, coming up this Halloween. And here's the stage. Some of you know I grew up in a community, horse and buggy community. Horses were my conveyance for the first 30 years of my life. And this is something we don't do in the community as trick or treat. But I got some wild bug up my butt. Decided to be a black person of color and go to my two favorite places. Or one was a place of intrigue and the other was like a favorite friend's house. So I go to the barn, get my horse, brush her, saddle her out, put the rope on her neck, take the halter off, put her bridle on, and lead her over here, tie her to a tree close to the house where I go in the house, and I dress up, come out looking much like this, and go to get my horse, and she snorts and pulls back, and I go, wait a minute, you know me, come on, calm down, Ginger, it's Vera, let me have you. I untie her, and we're going to have some fun tonight. So after talking and bribing a bit, she lets me get on, and I proceed to ride to the first place in this. We have this quote in the community, 28 old maid, 29 bachelor's line. Well, there were these two guys in the community that were very wonderful, high energy. They were 25 and 26. So we called them bachelors, although they weren't quite there. The reason they were called bachelors is because they showed no interest in girls. They didn't date. And so that intrigued me, so I thought, okay, that's one place to go trick-or-treating. So I get on my horse and I ride across the country about 3 miles. And I get to their house, and I figured these bachelors don't make treats, so I'll do my trick first. I go into their tack room and get their harness and bridle, and I'm down here taking every buckle apart, lay it all out, take the bridle, all the buckles. As horse people know, there's a lot of buckles to a harness, and it took time. And so I have this all done, and then I think, and then I think to myself, okay, they have one more mode of conveyance. I'll go get that, I went into the shed where they keep their bikes, and I found the bicycle. I brought it out, and I take it over to this big silage trench. It was Halloween, so it was fall of the year. The silos were filled, the extra was put in this big trench in the ground, packed and then covered with a tight tarp. So I put the bicycle up on top of that, and I think, okay, my trick's done. I go back to the house and see if anybody's home, and if they are, I just really hope they don't offer me a treat. So I knock on the door, and the younger one comes to the door, and I go, hello, I just thought I'd come around and do a little trick or treat, and since I'm in the neighborhood, I'd see how you are. So, any treats tonight? He goes, oh, we don't make treats around here. And I was like, no chocolates? Oh, I just love a little chocolate tonight. And sorry, no chocolate. So I'm like, okay, well, have a nice evening. I'll see you around. Good night. So I go out to the end of the, behind the barn, and get back on my horse. And I'm going riding 3 more miles over to the next place of intrigue, my friend's place. So I get over there, and I tie at the end of the lane, because I don't want them to see where I come from or how I came. I walk in the lane, and these are people that do taxi service for the community. The older couple, they have a daughter a year younger than I. They're just very, she was very wild and free-spirited, so I loved hanging out with the daughter, and thought I'd come and see what they make of it. So I knock on the door, and the lady of the house opens the door. Well, what have we here? I say, hi, I just thought I'd stop in and see how you're doing, and say happy Halloween, trick or treat. And she goes, well, come on in. So I walk in, and she says, she says, how do you know us? And she says, how do you know us? I go, oh, I just live over yonder a bit. I know your daughter. Just think you guys are really great. She says, well, have a seat. I'm going, I can't do that. You might know who I am. And she goes to the kitchen, walks around the kitchen, comes back in with cookies and tea. Here, have some cookies and tea. I can't do that. You'll really know who I am. And she goes, takes it back to the kitchen, disappears a little bit, comes back with this, and she's like, who are you? And I'm going, oh, you're going to find out sooner or later who I am, because we're friends. Well, if we're friends, why don't you just tell me who you are? And so her husband was sitting over there at the side looking at the newspaper, and every once in a while he'd go like this. And she goes, John, tell me who this is. And he goes, just shakes his head. So I says, well, it's been nice seeing you. I think I'll head on down the road. And she goes, how did you get here? I hoofed it, not that far. I said, happy Halloween, I'll see you around. So I get on the horse and go back. And as you remember, this, as though it wasn't hard enough to get on the horse takes me. S-O-B-S-O-L. I thought the trick was on me. Thank you.
me, stranger. It's familiar somehow. Let's have a moment of silence for the judges, please. Contestants, please come on up, have a seat on the hot seats or the stools from. All right, great. All right. Very, you missed something. It reminded me of something. Anyway, here, why don't we start with you? Share with us your reflections. What got you to take the step to do the contest, and how you feel about it as you did?
What took me to do the contest is I like living on the edge, and so that's one of the reasons I joined Toastmasters, because there's a limitation I have about living on the edge in front of an audience. And I felt that this would be one place that I would like to break through, and I find this a very supportive and wonderful group, and just amazing.
Great, good. Thank you. Oh. How long have you been married now?
A good one. My wedding has lasted so far for about 3 months, and I've counted 12 days. 3 months and 12 days.
That's great. Well, having been married for over 33 years, I know that means you probably still like each other. Don't worry about it, it'll pass. Any other reflections for us?
Reflection on
Competing with Toastmasters and how it's helping you.
Yeah, to speak on that, I would like to recall on the incident from last year. Last year I participated in numerous speech competition, and I had no idea, I had no expectation of what I would achieve. I just came in to get rid of my fear and see if I could present in front of a respectable, valid, known audience who have deep experience in speaking. Guess what? I was the club winner. I defeated 2-time state champion Ed Hibb, which was like a big thing for me. That made me realize that it's all in your mind. If you think of it, it is there, the fear that I'm talking about. If you don't think of it, it's not. This year I came in again at this moment with no preparation actually, but I thought, okay, I have an experience which I felt is funny. I just decided to share it with you, and I was glad that I could amuse a few people. So overall, my reaction is that the participating in speech competition where there's a feeling of competing with someone helped me becoming a better speaker. And I felt that, you know, if you're nervous and you're afraid, join Toastmasters. Come, speak, be a guest for as long as you want. Come speak, become a member, and then just like we are, speak for the next time.
Very good. This is your polished professional musician. Magician. I'm sure you do music too. You've accomplished so much in your life. Is there any special thing you want to share to us about us? About it to us?
Well, I think that the main thing is to have the desire to be different. I describe myself as a vivacious philomath, and those are words that I learned here. When I first came to visit Toastmasters, my first impression was, as I look around and didn't have an idea of the structure of the program, I thought, this is just a social group for senior citizens. They must not have a lot of things to do. And in my mind, I was busy doing one thing and another, and I really didn't I wasn't quite sure if I was gonna have time to squeeze Toastmasters. I came for the second time, and I got the feel for how things run from beginning to end. The third time I came, and that's when I really grasped the idea, how everything is structured where everybody gets to participate, prepare speeches, table topics. And I thought to myself, I will come 2 more times, and then I will make a decision if I should join. By the end of the meeting, I said, no, I'm joining now. And I pay my membership and I join. And it's not just about being able to speak in public and speak correctly, but also build your confidence, your self-esteem, your knowledge. It gives you leadership skills that will help you whether you're speaking or not. It's just something that it grows on you just with your confidence alone. You can be more sure when you knock on somebody and the door of opportunity. And if nobody opens, you just jump through the window and you get through.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
I'd like to, before we get on with this, I'd like to invite our distinguished guest, Mr. Don Wadley, to come up. I'm sure he has some interesting things to share with us about. So it's a little introduction.
Oh boy, where to start? There's a lot of things that are happening in District 19. And one of the big things, and I wish I had some flyers with me here, but I know that Will has got them buried away somewhere. And that is that coming up on November 9th and 10th is our fall conference. And we're going to have the humor speech contest, and we're going to have the evaluation contest, and we all know that. And we also know that Dana Lamont is the keynote speaker. And he is just a wonderful, wonderful speaker. He's a former world champion, and he's a lawyer, and he has done a lot of public speaking and a lot of building of people. And his story is just really wonderful. So come and be there. But that's not the full story. He has been asked, and he has consented to spend one more day in the Davenport area, and he is going to go to the Hilltop Club, which I think you remember is the Hilltop Club is the prison club at East Moline Correctional Center. And we are forming a group, a caravan of all Toastmasters who would like to go along on that trip. It's going to be Sunday afternoon, the day after the conference. And some of you, I think, have been there, or at least been to a similar situation, but we're going to try and get as large a group as we can, 30 or 40 Toastmasters, to come to witness the Hilltop Toasters in one of their regular meetings. It's going to be on Sunday afternoon, November 11th. And I think that some of you know that there are certain restrictions that you have, and then we can tell you about what the restrictions are on what you wear and what jewelry you have and what you can take in with you, of course. This is behind the walls at the East Moline Correctional Center. It's a minimum security prison in the state of Illinois. But one of the tricks is, or one of the, not tricks, one of the requirements is that you get your name, social security number, and date of birth to Kristen Bruckman by October 10th. And I think you got some of those half-size flyers. Did you get any of those? Okay, pick up some of those from Will, and that has all the details of how to get that information to Kristen, so that she can arrange, because you all have to be cleared in order to go in or not. And so it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity And as some of you know, these guys, let me put it this way. These guys are in there most of them are on minor events. All of them have less than around 5 years is what their sentences are. But most of them also are like 4 or 5 times back to prison. And they, as one person I know says, they've been followers their whole life. Like, okay, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do. Okay, now I have to go rob this guy, now I have to go this. That's what their life has been. And they says, no, now I'm going to change it. This is the first chance that they have to actually grab a hold of their life and change it. And they're seeing that and saying, I do not have to come back to this place. This is my ticket to a new life. And they see Toastmasters as doing that. Fantastic bunch of guys. And so I really urge you to get a hold of Kristen, give her your full name, social security number, and date of birth. And then she'll tell you where to meet. It's going to be we're going to start at the same hotel as what the conference is. But this is really an opportunity. And I don't have any contest chair to turn it over to. Will.
Yeah, there you go.
And now while we're waiting for our contest chairperson, who is now back, it's my distinct pleasure to bring back. Well,
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. All right. So what we're going to do is take a moment, because we'll have this thing. We just want to acknowledge some people real quick. I'd like to acknowledge our timers, Darlene and Rhonda. And our ballot counter, AKA Sergeant of Arms, John Morris. Our camera people, Tom and Cindy, as usual, the faces. And our judges, let's hear for our judges. Remember to get your competent leadership manual out, if you haven't already, and make sure that you have someone sign off the credit for each of these roles, because they're all in there.
We may be short this year of not having enough competent leaders to provide, to do our goals.
Okay.
We have a lot of people who are not doing their competent leadership. That leaves the club short, and you have to do those to get your 10 goals if you want to keep that lecture. There's no reason not to, but you have to do it.
Right, we do.
That's incompetent.
That we know.
Is
John,
it okay to fill out John's when he gets his for
Yes,
tonight?
as soon as he gets it.
Yeah.
So
So
who
when
ended
you
up
get
doing
your
my
leadership-
evaluation for the, okay, why don't you hold that up just a second? This is the competent communicator manual that comes, it's the second that comes with you when you start.
Competent leadership.
Leadership, sorry. And then this is one of the requirements is to be a contest chair. And there's other related jobs. So all of these different roles that we play are all part of that. And all we do is just make sure that we get that feedback from that. And before we know it, the 45 tasks listed, we only need 21 or 22 to complete it. So,
And you're mostly done.
yeah. Good, so we have that. Then we have a slight judge's deliberation going on right now. Let's hold us back for a second. We'd like to go ahead and announce the results. Remember, second place is very important. First place person can't make it, second good. The results are going to be for the first contest for the evaluation contest. Okay, for the evaluation contest, our second place winner is Jesus Rios. And for our first place, Tom Trainer. Okay, and for our humorous speech contest, second place is Rahul Butts. And so for humorous speech, to take number place, first place, okay, Jesus Reeves. And for recognition, we'd like to invite up Vera Elizabeth. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Let's clean her up.